What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing this weekend? Appreciate everybody hanging out with us, kicking it with us live as you guys normally do. You always showing up, showing out. We appreciate the love, appreciate the support. You guys always hanging out. We got another awesome guest. He has been here before, so he is familiar with the podcast. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, like the channel. We appreciate that support as well. Helps more people see it. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing kicking. We got a lot to talk about. Shout out to everybody in chat. See the familiar faces, all the beautiful people of the Zinc. So you might be in for you might be tipping your week off there, Pong. Zinc is in the chat.
It's guaranteed. Now, as long as Zinc's not doing anything in the background that he's got to go away and not be able to chat, I know he's gonna come with a hot take. So my Saturday night will be complete.
Oh, yeah, we serving up those hot takes, Zinc. So make sure you get one nice and ready for Pong there, man. But shout out to you, Fifth Horseman. Shout out to Blue, Shonsu, Mod of the Year, Level 1 Gamer. What's up, man? Appreciate everybody hanging out with us, man. But let's go ahead and get to our guest of the hour. Once again, the man does not really need an introduction. One of my good friends, an OG, if we really being honest with it. I mean, look, I was there. I got the receipts, but one of the OGs in the game. A person that, you know, I've looked up to, done a lot in this game. Once again, shout out to Level 1 Gamer, but Mr. Fame ENT, man. Everybody know where they can find you at, brother.
Hey, man, again, I appreciate the invite, man. It's always good coming out rocking with you and the boys tonight. Definitely, again, appreciate the invite, man. I'm definitely here to have some fun. For those who don't know, I am the head of LV1gaming.com, minority-owned and operated gaming news website. We've finally started to pick up some steam here over the last year. I'm super happy that we're getting noticed as media in different publications and different places that we go. I don't really promote myself too much, but I do promote everything Level 1 Gaming. So at LV1 Gaming on Twitter. And if you can, bookmark our website, LV1Gaming.com. We got lots. We got like three unreleased titles getting ready to get reviews going up here on the site here pretty soon. So definitely want you guys to come by, check out the site, show some love. Anyone interested in getting their foot inside the gaming industry, hit me up. I'm always available, man. I'll be giving people chances. We got people who started at Level 1 that are going over to some really, really big publications. People who are now working in the games industry for ZeniMax. We got people for started at Level 1 that are all over the place now. So I'm also excited to meet new people and to give people an opportunity, because at the end of the day, people just want their voice to be heard.
For sure. So once again, an OG in the game. Shout out to everybody at Level 1 Gaming, man. Go follow him. All of the information down in the description below. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, man. Thank you guys so much. So much. But let's go ahead and get to my compadres here. We got Mr. Pong Soul. Shout out to you, man. Pong Harvey, if you guys don't know. How you been this week, brother?
It's been one heck of a week, PTK. It's been a long week, but I had triple header on Thursday, unplanned triple header. So that was fun. I've definitely had plenty of talking. I missed Xbox Ultimate last night due to life throwing those curveballs, man. But you know what? It's great to be back Saturday nights. You know what it is, brothers. Love being here. And of course, to have Fame back on the show again, a pleasure and honor. Always love your thoughts and what you guys do over there at Level 1 Gaming. Absolutely. And just keep doing it, man. Like you said, you're finally getting that recognition, which is fantastic. So again, it's going to be a good night, PTK. I've been playing, haven't been playing as much, getting my bedtime back on track again as things get back to normal. So, but I have been doing some Ayuden Chronicle Rising.
Nice.
I'm about 10 hours into that and have an absolute blast. OG JRPG, although it is action-based, it's not turn-based. So for people out there saying, I don't want none of that turn-based stuff, guess what? This game is for you. Not complex by any stretch of the imagination, a little bit deeper than you think when you start, but having a blast, just beautiful animation, awesome, amazing music, and just a really, really fun time. Again, a chill game, one of those games you can sit down to and you don't have to overthink things, and you just have a good time if you like that old JRPG style. So, man, I'm having a blast with that. Of course, rocking out NBA 2K22. I did try out Arma, the preview build, which I never expected Arma to come. For anybody who does not know, Arma has been PC only for a very long time. It is a military sim first-person shooter. So when I say sim, I mean sim.
Oh yeah.
But I was shocked and amazed that it came over. Tried the preview build. Look, I am very thankful that Bohemian Games is trying to make this work from the ground up for consoles, but they do have a lot of work to do. that is for sure. But you can go try it. They got a 6-hour trial, and then if you like it, you can purchase the preview build for $30. This is called Reforger, so it's the beginning of their startup to get to Arma 4, and they're going to do a full launch of Arma 4 down the road. They don't have a release date, but this is kind of like the beginning, and they want to kind of build off of this, get used to the consoles and all that kind of stuff. But it is definitely, a work in progress. Let's put it that way. But it does have some really cool stuff to it. I tried the online real quick, and look, walked up to do a control point and shot an enemy soldier, put his uniform on, and then went behind enemy lines, and nobody knew I was an enemy until I started, popping him in the back of the skull. So that was kind of cool. That's the stuff that you don't get anywhere else. But otherwise, PTK, we got a lot of good stuff to get into. So let's get down to business, man.
Man, shout out to you. Appreciate it. Once again, chat. Thank you guys so much. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Subscribe if you're new here. Shout out to you, Chris Beasy, Ashtray. Once again, all the frauds. ATL. Shout out to you, the Blue. Shout out to you as well, brother. Appreciate you guys so much. Last but not least, shout out to you, Bacon, as well. But Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, how you doing this week, brother?
Been doing pretty good, man. It's been a weird week. Just some news. Got won the viewing thing to go out to LA, so got all that taken care of. But man, just enjoying some Division and still playing the heck out of GT7 because I'm really waiting for Forza Motorsport to release or get it announced. But other than that, pretty good. Glad to be on here with you guys. Glad to have Fame back on here.
Appreciate it.
It's just, let's do this.
Yeah, let's dive in, man, too, because Fame did let me know. He gave us a weather report before the show. He said, look, I got some storms coming through, so we got to get this thing rolling. You never know. He might be doing this from the bunker in a couple hours. You never know. So,
hey, man, Texas stays unpredictable, man. We try to prepare, man, but it'll be 100 degrees today. It'll snow the next day. And we'll have 16 tornadoes the day after. It doesn't make sense at all.
Well, shout out to you for being here, man, in the midst of that crazy weather, man. And I see Level One in the chat. What's up, Baron? What's up, Hydra? What's up, ATL? Shout out to everybody hanging out. Focus, what's up, brother? Appreciate you guys. But we got a lot to talk about once again. Let's dive right in. So we always start with the poll of the week. So shout out to everybody who participate and vote in the poll of the week every single Monday on my Twitter account, PTK Blam. On Twitter, all of that's down in the description below. So if you want to participate, find me there. Take part in the poll. We talk about it on Saturday. So this poll of the week was a bit related to this next Xbox showcase coming up. So essentially what it was with the recent Xbox news and summer showcase around the corner, what moves to the top of your list for the event with the recent changes as far as highlights? And I picked 4 different things. I got other Bethesda IPs, possible acquisitions, unannounced IPs, and then third-party Game Pass deals. Unannounced IPs ran away with the vote, 57%. So more than half the people that voted actually wanted to see this. That kind of pushed to the top of their list with some of the recent changes. So we'll start with you on this one. Fame, would your option be on this list? Did anything, obviously, with the changes, and we kind of talked about this pregame, did anything move to the top of your list as far as what you want to see?
Truth be told, again, like I said, we did kind of touch on this in pregame, and I actually wrote an article of OneGamer.com, and it's titled "How Xbox Can Salvage 2022."
So go check that out, by the way. Go read that.
And the number one thing that comes up to me is Game Pass has to be, it got to be popping, right? And we already know Game Pass is an incredible service, right? And I'm not necessarily saying, hey, we need to see a certain game A, a certain game B. It needs to be, all right, I'm going to further show you why your money in Game Pass is valuable, because we talked about PTK, we talked about this, that the number one draw for Xbox Game Pass for me, people are different, and that's the first party day and date titles, right? That's the most attractive part. I'm getting all of Xbox's first party titles day and date. Well, at least right now, because things can change on June 12th. I don't want to get killed in the chat, but as of right now, there is none. Right, that is confirmed. We don't know of any confirmed. Nothing's written on paper, right? But that could change, right? So to me, the number one thing is I need Game Pass to be put in the. I need everything to be shown available day one on Game Pass.
No, that's cool.
New title being shown, whether it's a new first party title, new third party title, day one on Game Pass. Go get me something like Gotham Knights. Day one on Game Pass. To me, that has to be on the forefront because I get it. Games take time, and a lot of these studios that Microsoft acquired either just published a game or they just started making a game, right? And game development takes time. Great games take time. We all know this is why Starfield was delayed because it takes time, right? And plus the world we live in right now. So that means you need to tell me what I can expect from Game Pass for the rest of the year. That's how you save the rest of the year. That needs to be further remind people like, hey, we might not have had these first party titles day and date, but guess what? You're going to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the way down the damn alphabet. And I think that alone will make people extremely happy and remind them, oh yeah, we do have stuff to play. Lots of brand new titles to play day one in the service while we wait for Avowed, while we wait for Fable and my most anticipated game, Hellblade 2.
For sure. And once again, I agree. And we've talked about this many times in many different formats. Well, not much since that change happened, since it was like a week ago, but we're kind of going to dive into this here. And I do agree with that take. And shout out to chat. Somebody in chat said they want to see more from the publishing side from XGP. I'd like to see more. That'd be interesting, obviously, to see what kind of deals that they've secured on that end. Somebody says Saints Row. Saints Row will be kind of fun. I don't know how you feel about that, Fame. That being in like day one Game Pass.
Saints Row. Any of those games, man, and that to me that'd be just a big I don't want to use the word apology, but it'd be a big boost to say, hey, like we understand, like, and we know why you guys apply to the service, right? And don't get me wrong, I love indie titles, right? Give me all the indie games that you got. I love indie games, right? But the fact that this is their biggest show of the year, you have to come hard, and the way Microsoft can do that and leave a lasting taste in your mouth is Game Pass.
For sure. I agree. And there's a lot of meat on the bone. That's what I was saying when this happened. I said the good thing, and I always like to look at things. I'm a very optimistic person, glass half full kind of dude. So I'm looking at the bone. I'm like, wait a minute, even though these two gigantic chunks, Redfall and Starfield, are moving, it changes everything. There's still a lot of meat on the bone, still a lot to work with. So that's what excites me. How are they going to fill the gap? Right. That's kind of where I'm at now. How are they going to fill the gap? How creative can they be? Obviously it felt like it was sudden, so it didn't feel like they planned for this. But now that it's happened, what have they done? And, leading up to that point in time, what have they done to kind of secure the event? But we'll get into that. I want to go ahead and get to my compadres here. And once again, chat, let us know. Shout out to everybody watching live. Mav, I see you. Shout out, got some FSP love. Stanley, shout out to you as well. But we'll throw this over to you, Pong. On that list, anything you voted for in particular, or what would have been your top choice?
Wow, I see you missed something again.
Oh, here we go. See, look.
Yeah. I mean, again, what they need to do is announce that this is all a big joke and that Starfield is back on 11/11/22, brother. That's the one that you forgot. Yes, because that would make the show absolutely spectacular and blow it out of the water. All these things are important, and Fame makes absolutely great points. The third party Game Pass deals are important. Looking at the landscape, I don't see a lot that can do. The only one that I do see that could come close to filling the hole that's been left is the possibility that Modern Warfare 2 comes day and date. Okay. And if that is a possibility, and by that whole, we've seen the picture.
Well,
now.
Yeah, I was going to say Sony doesn't have the marketing deal, right?
It's up in the air right now. Okay, so it's up in the air. Let's put it that way. There's no confirmation yet. We'll find out more. June 9th is the supposed date. Obviously, probably at Keighley Summer Game Fest. We're going to hear and see Modern Warfare 2 for the first time. We'll probably learn a lot that day. But if that happens, and on the 9th, they show it off, and on the 12th, they're back on the Xbox stage again, and Xbox is able to say, early access to beta come August, and oh, by the way, the full game day and date Game Pass this fall. Look, that would be gigantic. Saints Row, Gotham Knights, both nice little pieces, just not really going to fill that hole in a whole lot, right? A lot of people will be excited. It'll be a good thing, right?
We're trying to get this back in pieces. It don't have to be all in one.
No, it doesn't. No, and there's really nothing that can, right?
Yeah.
Again, Starfield is a meteor-sized hole here, but Modern Warfare 2 would come close to it. So I agree with Fame, right? If they're going to pull that off, pull it off. However, what I chose, and I'm just taking a look at the landscape and where everything's at this point, if you don't have that Modern Warfare 2, if you've only got Gotham Knights or Saints Row as one of your deals, I want you to lean into selling us hopes and dreams. I've talked about this plenty. I want you to lean into it. It's not what you plan to do. It's not what Phil has come out and said that they want to do. They always want to use these E3 type showcases to show off 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months max. Lean into this, okay? Give us those unannounced IPs, whether they're coming soon or whether they're coming later. I want to see what Christmas presents you have for us. Maybe they're not even wrapped right now. That's okay with me. Give them to me because I want to see what you've got coming down the road even further than the next year. I want to get hyped for this unannounced stuff that you guys have been holding close to your vest. I mean, this kind of follows up with your other one in there, the Bethesda IPs. Bethesda's team's got a lot of unknown IPs sitting out there right now, whether it's the Marvel stuff we've been hearing, whether it's the Star Wars stuff we've been hearing, whether it's a Wolfenstein 3 as Boxenberger wants us to all pronounce it as. Look, whatever it is that they've been holding, exactly, whatever they've been holding close to the vest, show me those. I want those unannounced IPs because that will cleanse my palate from the Starfield. Because right now, again, this is me. This is Pong, because I was only looking forward to Starfield, right? That was my everything coming up on 11/11/22. So for me, I don't want to be reminded of it. I want to forget about it. I already know I don't even have a date for it next year. So give me that hopes and dreams for the next 2-3 years so I can start getting hyped about some of that stuff. And if you got a couple new ones that you haven't announced that are ready to rock and roll, ready to come out holiday season or early 2023, absolutely showcase them right here and there. I think that will help people kind of get over the malaise of having Starfield and Redfall Fallout this year. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. And once again, I know, and this is Pong talking, you got to remember, but I understand like where everybody's coming from. I mean, once again, you can't really feel that expectation. You can't really feel that gap that essentially Starfield left. And we might still get some Starfield stuff, which I'm more than happy to see. Like, please show me any more of that at all.
No.
I don't care. Like, show me whatever you want to show me. So
Phil,
I get where you're at. I get where you're at.
Please don't.
I get where you're at, but I don't care. Show me whatever you want to show me. You basically said release the crack in any goddamn way, right? You want to show everything. That's kind of where you're at. So,
exactly.
But we're going to throw this over to you, Fuzz. And before you get started, I want to throw something back to you real quick, Fame, regarding kind of what we've been talking about so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just kind of regarding the event overall. I understand you said it's the Game Pass needs to be focused. Where else can they get creative? Have you thought about what else they could possibly do? Maybe they can get creative with a third party deal or something that they can kind of put together. Is there any other opportunity that you see?
Well, unfortunately, as we know, Microsoft no longer does third party content exclusives, right? And to be told, as a gamer, that money is better spent put for Game Pass day one, right? So give me Game Pass day one over somebody else not being able to play it, right? That's silly, right? I do like that about Microsoft, right? So what they can do, and this kind of goes along with some of the rumors that are happening, and to kind of smooth things over just a bit, you got those Gears of War remasters. Let those be true. You got Fallout remasters. Let those be true. And that's the type of stuff that I can see releasing this year alongside of Forza Motorsport 8 and alongside a couple other indie titles. Let us get some actual, again, I know it was technically gameplay at the Video Game Awards, right? Can we get actual gameplay of Hellblade 2? 'Cause I'm sorry, and Hellblade was my game of the year 2017, but just watch somebody pressing up on the right stick isn't gameplay to me. I'm sorry. That's not actual gameplay to me. I can't look at it as gameplay, right? You give us some actual gameplay with us watch a Senua put hands on somebody, that'll be super dope and get people really excited, right? Let people really see what's happening with Avowed. You know, even Fable doesn't have to be actual gameplay because I think Fable's so far out. Give us an actual trailer, right? Because what we always seen before was the cinematic and then the fairy getting ate by the frog, right? Give us an actual cinematic trailer or something that we might be seeing. That'd be great. But it's time, right? 2023 is supposed to be the year where we get a first party title every quarter. That's supposed to start next year. So if that's the case, right, it's time to start showing up. You know, I think the meme of wait till E3 has kind of creeped its ugly head, and Xbox has no games has kind of creeped its ugly head again, right? It's time to shut everybody up. It's time to remind people, hey, we are one of the richest companies in the world, and when we want to make something happen, we're gonna make it happen. Even if we have the money with it, we're gonna make it happen, right? So that's what they need to do is show us gameplay. Show us stuff we've never seen before. Shock the world, right? And truth be told, I do understand that games like Sea of Thieves and Grounded has a fan base. I don't care, bucko. Like, I don't care. When it comes to Halo, unless you're giving me story DLC, I don't care. I don't care because season 2 happened. There's nothing else you can show me unless you're going to give me campaign DLC, right? I don't care. Don't waste time with Halo. Don't waste time with Sea of Thieves. Don't waste time with Grounded. Just my personal opinion. We need those bangers. I want to be on my hands. I want to be on my hands on my chair, screaming the entire time, game after game after game after game after game, and it has to be persistent.
Lord have mercy.
2023 is the year. 2023 and beyond is supposed to be crazy for Xbox. Show it to us right now.
It has to be. 2023, there's no more excuses, man.
None.
Zero. Again, I know some people are already done with it, and then some people already say this is it, that they're already fed up. Look, next year is it for me. If they aren't hitting one per quarter, I think next year they could hit one every 2. If they really get their act together, and especially with Activision Blizzard, they got to make that happen. There's no more, hey, the beginning of the year is a little light, we're going to make it up at the back end. None of that. It's got to be from start to finish next year. It's got to be a full year of nothing but home runs coming out.
Yeah. So I didn't expect that, but so we got some people at the end of their rope sound like. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this, bro.
Well, I voted on unannounced IPs only because they need to show us something from, it's technically unannounced because they really haven't put it in front of us as far as the Compulsions game. So I kind of consider that part of the unannounced IP since they haven't officially said anything to the public. That to me, and especially if it's coming out soon, although I would love for it to come out 2022, but only if it's ready, no rushing it out the door type of thing. But I would love to see something along those lines. I'm really hopeful that they, Motorsport is readily available or ready to be released like around September, if not sooner. But I agree with Fame on the, the third party deals. Something like Saints Row. I mean, we're hearing rumors that there might be a Need for Speed in the or coming out later this year. If they're able to swing the deal, kind of like what Pong was saying with Modern Warfare. I kind of get the impression that Sony didn't show it on screen for their investors meeting or whatever. For the fact is, at this point, well, there's 2 aspects of it. One, why push a game that's going to be soon associated with your competitor? And 2, there's also the rumors that there's no game for 2023. So this might be their last hurrah type of thing. So why even bother putting it up there since it's not going to be a thing for them up to this point next year with the game not, being released or whatever. But yeah, new IP is what I'm hoping we get wowed by. I agree with Fame on, they need to keep our attention with like new hit after hit after hit type of thing. But, like the DLC stuff, any additional content, whether it's for Minecraft Dungeons, Sea of Thieves, the 1.0 release for Grounded, put that in the Summer Games Fest or put that as like an after.
Have That's a
the
tweet,
event
my
type
guy.
of deal, kind of like they did when they had the interviews with Paris and stuff like that afterwards. So those things can be, I mean, they're still important because there's a fan base for those games, but don't make that the center focus. Put the center focus on all the new games or the progress of games that we kind of already seen a hint of, whether it be Fable or Avowed or Hellblade, any of those. Put those front and center. I kind of wish they had already shown us, Redfall and Starfield when they did that delay announcement, like wow us last Thursday and be like, hey, this is the game that you guys have been waiting for, and it's so ambitious that we're going to have to take a little bit more time. If they had gone that route, I think it would have probably been a little less bumpy of a road. But they're the professionals at this. We'll see how they handle the show. But I want to see a couple of new IPs if at all possible, with a reasonably recent, or somewhat recent, or not recent, but somewhat soon release date. And then all the rumor stuff of like all these projects, like the Wu-Tang game.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
By
So,
Brass Lion, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they have that, hey, that would be, another one of those like surprise from left field, even though, we know about the project, but I want to see what it's like in motion, gameplay, release date. Hopefully it's within, this time frame, but if that game is too far out, still at least give us some hint of what we're looking forward to. If it's going to be a fighter, like kind of like a in place of Killer Instinct in the meantime kind of thing, that would be awesome. But just show us some of these projects, show us some of the new IPs, because they have stuff working in the background, whether it's Coalition and their UE5 project that they're doing, whether it's a remaster or if it's something completely non-Gears related. Still looking forward to see what that's all about. And most of these teams have, or most of these studios have multiple teams working on stuff. Kind of want to see an update on Project Mara. Kind of want to see an update on what is it, the In Exile project, that steampunk game that their studio head's working on. So and possibly even the Wolfenstein 3, even though they keep on saying
Indiana Jones,
we're not really working on it, but they may all hands on deck on Starfield, but they may have already had that 95% complete kind of thing and just put it off to the wayside in the process of the acquisition and stuff. But I know I'm probably going to get similar flack for this, but Deathloop, I love that game when it was on PS5. Go ahead and make sure we see that it's coming to Xbox this year. Hopefully PlayStation didn't do a 2-year deal on this deal, but if you're going to have it at the showcase, make sure it has like all new content or some sort of additional content that wasn't on the PS5 edition. That whenever they're bringing it to our platform, they have some extra special for us. But that's all I got as far as my thoughts on how they can make it up type of deal.
Okay.
PTK, if I can, just really quickly, because I don't want to come off as the doom and gloom guy. If anybody actually follows my content, I do primarily positive Xbox content 99% of the time. I try to find the light at the end of every tunnel. Okay. And so I just want to address a few things in the chat. I'm saying, like, people are saying the over expectation and Xbox having impossible goals. I can tell you right now, Microsoft spent billions of dollars on these studios, and I am super excited about. Nothing is impossible when it comes to Microsoft. This is the one company that can have grand goals because they spent billions of dollars to do it, and I expect for them to do it. I believe they're going to do it. I believe 2023 and beyond are going to be freaking amazing. I really do. The only thing I'm saying is, this showcase needs to highlight that. Remind the naysayers of who Microsoft is. Remind the naysayers of who Xbox is. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm putting these high goals on this showcase, because I want Microsoft to remind the people who do not have a Series X like I have sitting right next to me, or do not have the Series S that I have right next to me, that isn't subscribed to Game Pass for the next 3 years like I am. Remind those people, hey, you want to get into this ecosystem, right? It's Microsoft has a lot of studios. There's no more time for low expectations. They have so much stuff that we all should be excited to see.
Yeah, and once again, I understand. You know what I mean? There's nobody's gonna. This is an abrasive topic. I knew this when I fucking made it, right? Like I knew this when I made the poll. So it's very abrasive, right? We all got different opinions on how this could work. I mean, the good thing is that there's a lot of ideas. The fucked up thing, like if we didn't have any ideas, they'd really be in trouble. But like I said, there's a lot of meat on the bone. They still got a lot to work with. So there are some things that they may be holding close to the chest that they could show us. There's a lot of possibilities there. Once again, I understand both sides of the argument. It's always going to be abrasive. Some people feel one way or the other about it. But ultimately, I think we all want to see a good showcase. I think we will see a great showcase. I don't know about the not seeing anything that's like currently out. That's almost like unrealistic, like, because they, you know what I mean? But I do think that they should highlight some of the things that we haven't seen more so in this event than things that we've already aware of, right? So I do agree with that on one point. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Once again, great warm-up topic check. Appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already, man. We're just getting started in this thing. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live, man. So let's move on to the next topic. So we're going to be talking a little bit about this developer called Techland. So obviously, Techland, a phenomenal developer. Dying Light 2 as well. They essentially just put out a tweet saying that they are going to be making or developing a AAA open world game. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit. Techland's kind of been in the news off and on for a long time now, right? Like for a minute, and I don't know if you subscribe to this idea, Fame, I thought maybe they'd be a great acquisition for Xbox at one point.
Yep.
I don't know, and I still think that maybe a rumor still floating around here, and I still see it every now and then on Twitter. But one, what do you think about the obviously tweet, the idea that they're going to be making this game, and two, just kind of what do you think about Techland overall, and do you think that would be a great fit for Xbox if that was a possibility?
I do think Techland is a very talented studio. I do remember when the rumors started to float around, and I wouldn't be shocked if Microsoft didn't make an offer, right? The thing about studio acquisition, people got to remember, is you still have to want to be bought. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Money really isn't everything for everyone, believe it or not. I know, you can throw money at things, but not everything can be fixed with money, right? So you have to want to be bought. I do think they're a very talented studio. I don't have a lot of time with their previous games. That would have been a really good topic for Baron, who did that Dying Light 2 review on our website. But to hear that they're going to branch out and make, I believe it's a fantasy, big fantasy open world RPG style game. I'm here for it. Fantasy RPGs are my favorite, genre of games. Big open fantasy worlds. Big, I'm definitely for that. So I definitely can't wait to see what they do next. Be interested if they keep with the first person look. I want to know if they'll switch it up to a third person style game. But again, I definitely think that this is a studio that I don't doubt Microsoft don't like look back into after Activision Blizzard. It seems like Microsoft is holding stand right now because of the Activision Blizzard deal. They don't want to piss off, someone who's trying to make a name for themselves as a politician. But definitely could see Microsoft swinging back around and taking a look at Techland again. And because we do know that they have been looking for studios from different parts of the world, right?
Yeah.
And they're a Polish studio, right? And so that could be another avenue, another place in the world that Microsoft can go and get some talent from.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I don't know. I believe that the Xbox has had the marketing deal on both games, I believe, as well. Dying Light 1 and 2, I think. So correct me if I'm wrong, chat, on that one. So they do have a fairly close relationship. So I do agree, a lot of talent there as well. So I believe Fifth Horseman said it's a fantasy game, I believe. I didn't get the full description, but I believe it's an open world fantasy game, which is super interesting. And I think the POV is interesting too. Do they continue to do first person, or do they switch to third person? Would you prefer third person, Fame?
Oh, me, I play so many first person games that I'm really into third person titles now. So to me, if it's an FPS, I always prefer first person, right? That's also been the case to me. A genre like this, give me third person. I even I know a game that I'm excited for, Avowed, is a fantasy RPG as first person. So I'm like, I'm a hypocrite in this standpoint, but I do prefer third person when it comes to my RPGs. certain type of RPG. So if it's like a fantasy game and stuff like that, then I would prefer third person. But at the end of the day, is the game good? Yes, and I'm happy.
All right, for sure. Let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. We're gonna switch positions here, but where you at on this, man? Techland, a highly talented studio out of Poland, making an open world fantasy game. Now, I do want to bring something up because I've seen this recently, and I don't know if you saw this, Fame, Pong, and or Fuzz. There's been little. I don't know if people are getting like tired of open world. I see that here and there, people complaining about open world being saturated and that whole idea being like overdone. So I don't know if anybody wants to mention that. I know Fifth Horseman in the chat just mentioned he hopes that they do something to distinguish themselves in the genre. I do share the same sentiment as well, because that seems to be the trend, I guess, right? I would say.
Yeah, as long as they don't follow like a Ubisoft style open world setup. I mean, other than I'm fine with the open world setup for The Division, but a lot of their other stuff is kind of, I won't say copy and paste, but it kind of feels that way to some extent. You had things like Ghost of Tsushima, they kind of broke things up a little bit, where they took some of the navigation and changed it around a little. But I would say, as far as Techland, I haven't dived into Dying Light 2 as much as I'd probably like, but Dying Light 1 I played a ton, and then the additional DLC for the following, that was a lot more open world, where they even had buggies for transportation and stuff, which made it even more interesting.
Yeah, I remember that.
So so if they go the fantasy route, and as long as there's like horses or something that you can transportation or get from point A to point B kind of fast without having to fast travel, that would be fine. But I would be all for what they're looking to do as far as that game. I have a little bit of open world fatigue, but not to the point where it's like I won't play the game at all or even try it type of thing. I think it's more so of like not necessarily like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, but if Assassin's Creed is going to be kind of like rinse and repeat for some of the strongholds and stuff, that I like. Valhalla I didn't finish, but I finished the other two pretty much like 100%. Although Odyssey, I didn't finish all the DLC. Origins, I finished all the DLC. Valhalla, I stopped probably about 60% in. Now I'm probably not going back anytime soon. So, but it's just because of how that format was. But I would be interested to see what Techland's take is on the fantasy version of their open world stuff. But yeah,
the fantasy is the hook for me, because that's an interesting idea to see. I mean, they've done the zombie thing, right? We know they're good at that. So diving into fantasy, a la Borderlands, right? They kind of did that with the whole Tiny Tina thing. But that's going to be interesting to see. Like, and I if it's fantasy, I would prefer probably third person as well. Not that I mean, as long as it's done right, I get what Fame was saying. That's really all that matters. But fantasy, I would probably prefer third person.
Yeah. I mean, third person would be my preference as well, but it all depends on, I think it comes down to the gear and the cost or customization and stuff like that. Like, if there's a lot of customization, I'm going to prefer a third person. But if the customization isn't as central to like the gearing or the leveling and stuff like that, then first person is fine.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Paul, and get your opinion. Techland open world fantasy game, man. What do you think?
Bring it on. The more people that jump into open world fantasy, the better. Obviously, we know what we get out of the Bethesdas, the Obsidians, the CDPRs, the BioWares. We've got all these other companies who have done this, and we've got a lot of AA's that have done it. But Techland, they are on the level of AAA, and I want to see what their take on it is. Their traversal in Dying Light 2 is up there with some of the best that we've ever seen in an open world. So I'd like to see how they implement that into a high fantasy. Again, I think we're all kind of projecting that this is going to be a fantasy realm just by that initial artwork that we saw. It definitely had those vibes. It almost had some Mayan ruin type vibes to it as well. If you look at some of the structures in the background, but no, I'm all for Techland. I'm a big Techland fan. I think that studio they're on the cusp. Let's put it that way.
I agree with that.
I love the fact that they've wanted to stay independent, that they have done so far, but I would really like to see them underneath a big publisher, a big umbrella where they don't have to worry about resources and time and such, and they can really get down to what they do best. Because I think they are a studio that could take that next step. I think they've done better and better. They fought through controversy. Dying Light 2, let's not forget there. Just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, there were stories like that was going to become vaporware, that was in development hell. There's been stories that have come out how mismanaged it was at the top, that the top one or two people really had some issues with, getting their people on the same page. Let's just say that they don't have the best leadership skills, according to some of the stories that we got out of there, that there was a lot of, devs who would have work completely done. And then, the top brass would look at it and say, nope, scrap it. Like after months of work. Right. Mm-hmm. So that kind of stuff, to fight through it and still put out a game. Now, Dying Light 2 was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they've done a lot of patching since its release. Steel and I think we have 50, 60 hours in, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. Don't quote me on that, or go look at my stats and try to say I'm lying, but I think we're right around that area. And I think that, what I've seen out of that game is just, they took what they learned from Dying Light 1 and just added to it and built upon that and came out with something that overall is a better package. Now, there's parts of Dying Light 1 that I still think are better, like the nighttime in Dying Light 1 to me still was scarier than it is in Dying Light 2, but I think they might have done that on purpose to try to get more people to come into the game as well, and to be able to play it a little bit better solo, because if anybody played Dying Light 1 solo at nighttime,
man,
nah.
I remember that. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, no, that was breakneck, man. That you were on the verge.
I'm just gonna sit on this roof until the sun comes up.
Yeah, but a lot of what they did in Dying Light 2, I absolutely love. So to have them take this whole concept and move it over to a high fantasy type setting, I can't wait to see what they come out. Again, I'm all for more people jumping into the Western RPG style game, the genre. Again, right now, Microsoft and Xbox own most of it, okay? And there's not too many big studios. And I'm not talking about AA stuff, because there's lots of AA stuff out there that I do enjoy. But it is AA. It doesn't have that necessary polish to consider it AAA at the end of the day. So Techland jumping in, yes, and more yes, please. I don't have open world fatigue. I will always try new open world games. So I can't wait to see when they can finally start talking about it, because obviously it's very early on. They're obviously going to be hiring people in to work on this. But yeah, man, this gets me excited. I can't. This is the golden age, man. We're going to get stuff that we never thought we were going to get. And this is a perfect example. I never thought Techland would jump into an open world RPG, especially if it is a high fantasy or that similar style. Man, that's just great. I absolutely am excited.
I am too. I'm super, super happy. And I'm super excited for Techland too, because you're right. People forget they were in a rough spot a couple years ago with this Dying Light 2. We didn't even think it was going to come out. We didn't even think we were going to get one. So shout out to them for persevering and pushing through the horrible management issues and putting out a good quality product, and still continuing to aspire to put out additional games and surprise us, with this fantasy game that none of us saw coming. So once again, second topic, man, we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Awful Grim, Bones, Focus Active, appreciate you guys, man. So that wraps up that topic, but man, we're gonna move on to the next one, and this one's a bit, it's gonna be fun, because I want to hear everybody's opinion on this. Definitely chat, want to hear your opinion on this as well. So we got a tweet fairly recently from Sony. I don't remember the executive specifically, just regarding the acquisition of Bungie and what that allows them to do, right? So we know it allows them, it bolsters their first party service, that the online service that they're going to be putting out. It helps with that. It helps with just resources and having a big name under the Sony umbrella. Essentially, it helps with that as well. But they highlighted that it also helps with further, I'm paraphrasing here, endeavors, multi-platform endeavors in the future, right? You can interpret that how you'd like. So I kind of want to get everybody's interpretation of that, because it was, a hot topic for about a day and a half or so. Then it's kind of trailed off. So
yeah, PTK was Kenichiro Yoshida, which is he's the CEO.
So out of the guy who writes everybody's checks out of his mouth, basically saying, that's what we're going to be looking at. It gives us the ability to be, agile and be able to move around on multiple platforms. So where you at on that, Fame? Because some people say, Sony doesn't do that. That's not where their focus is at. Does this line up kind of with everything we've been hearing from Sony anyway?
I will say this. I've always thought the comment of the person in the first place doesn't follow the person in the second place. That comment's always been idiotic. It's always been idiotic. You know why? Because Sony has always been in first place. And what have they done? Got party chats after Xbox did it. They've always done things after other companies. So the notion of the person in first place is not looking at following second place. Yes, they are. Right? Yes, they are. And I guarantee you, it might not be today or tomorrow, right? But you're going to see these games day and date on PC. Their investors are looking at how much money they can make on these platforms, and they're seeing how much money Microsoft is making. And you don't think they want a piece of that pie? They're definitely going to want it. I've been saying for like 2 years now that when The Last of Us remake releases, it's going to release also on PC. And with their multi player attachment, somebody give me the name of it.
Factions.
That's going to release on PC as well.
Yeah,
it's going to be day and date. I'm willing to put money on that, and I always refuse the right to be wrong. But PlayStation, they're not stupid. They see where gaming is going, and especially with the fact that they are not selling as many consoles right now, and that's because of the chip shortage. You don't think they're looking at the PC and like, oh my God. Sorry, my phone decided to want to speak. Hope y'all didn't hear that. But you don't think they're looking over and look at the PC platform like, I may not have as many consoles out right now, but man, if I release the Last of Us remake on PC, it's guaranteed to sell millions. Guaranteed to sell millions to the millions of PC gamers who don't have a PlayStation that haven't got to experience The Last of Us. You don't think these investors are looking at Sony and saying, what the hell are you doing? You trying to make 17 fanboys happy in the grand scheme of things, right? Because, again, the fanboy side of gaming is very small. So you want to make people happy by saying, no, we're going to keep our games exclusive. No, that's stupid. Put these games day and date. They should embrace multi-platform. I don't see these games going to Xbox or Nintendo, and that's understandable, right? Because I don't see Microsoft putting their games on any platform that doesn't house Xbox Game Pass. But Sony sees that the gaming has evolved. They're seeing what Phil Spencer at Microsoft has already seen for a while now. The gaming has evolved, and it's evolved past the box. Pretty soon we're going to be getting. You're going to go buy your brand new Samsung TV. It's going to come with a controller, and it's going to come with 3 months of Game Pass, right? That's where we're headed, right? We're headed to, yes, the boxes are still going to be here. Granted, they're still going to be here. They're going to sell, but as a company, and I don't run $1 billion company. If someone says that, as a company, you have to see that there's so much more money to be made, and you're doing it in a way that's actually benefiting. You're not hurting anyone by letting others play that game, right? And I think these investors at Sony have to be putting the pressure on PlayStation, saying, hey, you should be embracing multi-platform. There's no reason why this person who's been playing on PC for the last 15 to 20 years, who has never bought a PlayStation, he's probably going to continue to never buy a PlayStation. So let's go ahead and put our game over there.
That makes sense. Yeah,
it's smart.
Yeah.
And if I was them, I will continue to do it and continue to worry about what the second place person is doing, because the person in second place or third place, however you want to look at it, is innovating. That's what
they have to out of necessity. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yep. I agree. And one thing that I want to mention, and this is so funny that this always comes up, man. I always say, what's one? There's many ways to skin a cat, but Xbox was definitively not in a great position at the ass end of last generation. They weren't in a primary position that they wanted to be in. They have positioned themselves. There's one way to win a game. You change the rules. Game Pass changed the rules of everything. It changed the rules of the industry. Mm-hmm. And you don't think that Sony saw that and said, well, wait a minute, like, we didn't really see this being the way for them to kind of get back into this, like for them to kind of get, I won't say a lead on us, have what have you, for them to get a leg up on us. We didn't really, we didn't see that coming. They jumped on that. They changed the industry by announcing Game Pass, and now it's a standard. Now everybody needs one.
And
at least
Xbox
a version
has
of
always changed. Xbox from its inception has always
Yep.
changed gaming.
That
Granted,
Ethernet
other
port-
platforms have done something well, but Xbox has always, every generation of Xbox has changed gaming forever,
Yep.
regardless of what place they're in. So again, the notion of the people who always say the person in first place ain't read about, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this. Obviously, we've been talking about this a little bit here and there, and talking about Sony and what their plans are. Obviously, when they announced the service, you've been on that from day one. Like, hey, these games need to be day and date in this service. Put them on PC. It should not even be a thing. That should be, So we've always kind of believed the idea that was always where Sony was going to end up being anyway. So with this new information, once again from Yoshida.
Yeah.
The guy with the name on everybody's check at Sony, essentially saying this is part of the reason we made the acquisition for Bungie. Kind of what does that confirm for you, or kind of what does that lead you to believe?
Well, Fame just hit the nail on the head. As far as like with the chip shortage and everything, you got to have it where somebody's looking at the numbers. If they're unable to sell the consoles at this moment to get the software sales that they need from those from the hardware sales, then why not just put the software where people already exist? So if you have a customer base that already have PCs that are willing to buy this game, I would say it makes perfect sense to go ahead and release it. Sure, there's still people buying it where it's a year later or 6 months later, but if you do day and date, you're going to have a lot more, I feel, that would probably buy it, especially if there isn't a major PC game out at that particular time, although that's kind of hard to kind of navigate just for the fact that there's so many different genres that you can play on PC that aren't as prevalent on console. But it just makes more sense that this whole multi-platform deal, they're going to want to look at mobile even more. They're going to want to look at PC even more. I don't think they're going to look at anything on Xbox other than like things like MLB, and who knows, and Destiny, since they own, what do you call them, Bungie. But as far as like some of their games as a service, who knows? It could be that those go multi-plat to Xbox as well, just for the player base aspect. I mean, there's some rumblings or rumors that they're working on a multiplayer Marvel game in the background. So, sure, it would be a draw to have it only on their console, and it would probably bring people buying their console. But in some regards, where it comes to something like a multi-platform game or a multiplayer game, the bigger the player base, the better. And sometimes it's not always as comforting having the PC player base added into that, as we see with some of the games that we have here over at Xbox, where console players don't necessarily want to play with PC players because of cheating and or whatnot. But in the grand scheme of things, I won't say it's an inevitability, but it just makes sense. I mean, me personally, I would have loved for Gran Turismo to have been on PC. I mean, sure, they probably wouldn't have the rings of control on the economy like they want with it being on PC, because people would mod the game and so forth. But overall, you'd probably have people double dip to some extent, much like some that double dip for Xbox. Like, in some cases with Xbox, you actually get both copies. So if they're not doing dual entitlement, yeah, you'll have some double dipping. If they were to be gracious enough to do dual entitlement, that would be even better. But I know Sony is all about getting as much money out of their consumers as possible. But it's not a matter of if, it's more of like a matter of when. And I think Fame was right as far as with the remake for The Last of Us. Like, I was kind of thinking maybe God of War. Like, I think if they can't get their stuff together as far as the consoles, like they said they want to have 18 million readily available for sale next year. If that seems like that's even going to be something they'll have to scale back, 6 months in or something like that, and God of War hasn't released yet, yeah, I think that's the one that will be the first title. But if they wind up trying to release it this year, or they're able to get their 18 million console target, then it'll more than likely be something like The Last of Us. Like, I'm actually surprised that the remaster or the remaster collection or director's cut for Uncharted that they show on Steam still isn't available for PC. But we'll see how long that takes to release as well. That's all I got.
All right. So before I forget, once again, please drop your questions in the chat. We allow you guys pretty much to control the second half of the show. It's kind of something we've been doing for the past month or so, give or take. So drop your questions in the chat right now, whether you're watching live, whether you're not watching live, you're just passing through, stopping in. Drop the questions in the chat. Anything you guys want us to talk about, anything we missed, throughout the week, let us know. We will do our best to answer each and every single question in chat. Appreciate everybody watching live right now. So let's go and throw this over to you, Pong. Get your opinion on this. Once again, we've talked about this in many different forms and shapes, Pong, about like what Sony can do, right? Like what the next logical step for Sony. Obviously, they've adopted the Game Pass like service. That comes along with certain obligations, right? Like you if you're going to do that, right, it does make sense to have certain games on PC, especially in this market with them not hitting the target that they initially set as far as hardware. That's just another way to make up the difference, right? Put games other places that are already there, kind of like what Fuzz as well as Fame said. So it's kind of where you at on you subscribe to that idea, or you maybe have something else.
No, we've talked about this plenty, right? So having a CEO come out and say it again, I've said all along that Xbox is trailblazing here, right? We all know that Xbox is trailblazing a new, totally different business model for this industry with the subscription service. Now, everybody can say, oh, but Sony had PS Now long before Game Pass. Look, that's not even close to the business model that Xbox is trying to pull off here, right? And again, Sony's not dumb. And I've said that it's my belief, and again, armchair CEO time for everybody who loves it out there, but this is what it is. This is what we do here. Look, I've said from the beginning that I believe Jim Ryan has to convince the Sony board that this is the right way. They currently can't. Again, that Sony board is made up of a much older base of mostly men, a couple women in there as well, that come from the old ways of doing things in console gaming. And they've seen huge, gigantic success from that business model. To convince them that all of a sudden they got to switch and turn 180 degrees and do something completely different with a subscription base is going to take time over there. It's not the same as Phil and what he did to convince Satya, and Satya being all on board. And then again, that whole transition instantly gave Phil the opportunity to do what he needed to do to rotate the ship. Jim's in a different position. Jim's already got this huge mountain of success underneath Sony PlayStation. So now he has to convince everybody, hey, this mountain isn't as stable as we think it is, or that this mountain could be much bigger than it is, because we all know the console market is now capped. Jim has come out and talked about that in interviews. He understands that idea. So now Sony CEO is coming out and saying, hey, this is one more step, signaling that they are making that slow turn to follow Xbox as the leader towards the promised land of 2 to 3 billion customers. That's now what they see as well. They just can't do it the way that Xbox does it. So they're going to do it in chunks and baby steps. They started out with PC. We're going to start seeing those PC games come quicker and quicker. It's, again, certain ones I definitely think will be day and date. I would be shocked if God of War Ragnarok is not within either day and date or within the first 3 months or so, because like Fame talked about, they see those sales over on PC. They don't have all the consoles out there. And yes, God of War Ragnarok is going to be cross-gen, but they have also seen with their releases that we currently had, like Horizon, that cross-gen does not necessarily mean automatic success. And when I say success, I mean Sony success. Sony has very high standards when it comes to their first-party titles. If you include PC, all of a sudden there's a whole new market, and all of a sudden you got an influx of millions of buyers. That is huge to them to start that transfer. They are right now in the process of doing 10 games as a service. That's been officially announced within the next 2 years, 10 games as a service. They have to change their entire business model, their strategy, so that their games support this new way of doing business. They don't have that currently set up. Xbox has been doing this now for years. Xbox is leading the way. They are the transformative figures in this current state of the industry, in this big change that we're seeing. but they've been setting this up for years and years. Sony hasn't been. Sony hasn't needed to. They thought they could live on what they were doing. But now the tides are shifting. Now they're feeling the heat. Now the competition is real because Xbox is back. Godzilla rose up out of the water here, and King Kong is realizing that he's no longer king of all the lands, right? That's where Sony's at right now. Now they got a fight on their hands. So now they're going to do what they need to do. Once they have the games in position, the games as a service, and we talked about this at length too, PTK, those 10 games as a service, not all of them are going to hit. Not all of them are going to be big successes, right? But if you get 3 out of that 10 that do hit right, and start producing very good revenue streams on a regular, consistent basis and keep your engagement up, and they can see those numbers internally, that's when Jim can start implementing more and more of his ideas of following Xbox to the promised land, because then he can go to the board and say, look at our bottom line now. We used to make this by doing first-party titles, selling them traditionally, but now we are making this through subscription service, through games as a service. And here's all the extra we're getting from PC land as well. And those numbers will convince the board, hey, let's commit to this. That's when you'll start seeing certain first-party titles drop day and date on their subscription service. That's when you're going to see more and more third-party deals done. That's when they're going to flip the switch on their subscription service, so that they start trying to attract not just their fan base, which they're starting out by doing. They're going to try to convert most of their fan base over to the subscription model. Then they're going to start looking outside of it. And again, then you've got the mobile aspect. They hired somebody from Apple's mobile division to bring the Apple Arcade to make sure that they are moving forward with mobile products on their first-party IP as well. You're going to start to see that implemented. Again, they're signaling to everybody right now, whether they're diehard fans out here, the 1%, the small bubble that's in this community that screams and yells and throws fits every time Sony says they're going to do something different. They're signaling to those people, look, it's coming. Change is coming. Whether you believe it or not, this is happening because Xbox has it right. Again, we don't want to be Nintendo. We could be Nintendo. Sony certainly could turn themselves into that, but they don't want to be that. They want to be bigger. So they're going to follow Xbox here. And this is just the beginning, folks. But every time you hear a little something out of Sony, it's the next step. Bungie should have been a big marker, right? If the 10 games as a service didn't tell you which way they're going, Bungie definitely should. Bungie's going to stay multi-platform. Bungie's going to self-publish. Bungie's going to be, that ZeniMax deal that Xbox made. But Bungie's also going to, obviously, once again, help Sony when it comes to their games of service, when it comes to monetizing games, getting their future first-party titles set up properly. And again, Factions is the big one. Factions is the one. I've been on this trip. Steele's a huge faction player back in the day, right? He's huge in multiplayer, but he loved Factions. He has been all over Sony for the false promises that they had that Factions never came out. And I've been telling him, look, they're turning this into a standalone. You understand that, right? And he's been fighting me on this one in the DM saying, they're not going to do this and on our show. He's been like, no, it's going to come with The Last of Us Remastered. That's when they're going to do it, right? Look, now we get word that no, Grubb came out and said Factions has gone beyond the scope that they originally started with. Now that it is its
I
own
hope so.
kind of game. Yes, and it's going to be one of those games as a service. I've been on record as saying next spring that will be their early game. That'll be one of their first big games as a service. Gran Turismo is already a games as a service for everybody who doesn't know. But anyways, they sold that for full price. Factions is going to come out free to play. It's going to drop into their subscription service. It's going to be monetized to all get out, but that's going to be their first big foray into the multiplayer side of things in a long time from their first party studios. And I definitely see them putting a lot behind that game. So buckle up. This is fun. This is what the industry is about. This is why it's the golden age. Xbox is here to play. Sony now gets it. Even if Xbox says they're not a competitor, Sony still sees Xbox as a competitor, and they're going to fight tooth and nail for what they've earned up to this point. So this is the change that we've all been waiting for. It's coming. It's just going to take a little bit longer than what we saw at Xbox. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the beauty about the chess move that Xbox made, right? Like they knew that Sony wasn't going to be able to do this really fast. Like they knew Sony wasn't set up to do this like within a year. To counter within a year. They knew it would take a few years, which would give them time to kind of get their service off the ground. So beautiful chess move, man. That's what makes it's all awesome, man. But great topic there. We are now moving on to the part of the show where you, the viewer, everyone in chat, you guys take over the show. And I already see a bunch of questions in chat. So I appreciate everybody who's dropping their questions in there. Keep dropping them in there. We'll keep answering them till we're done with the show. So we'll go ahead and just start with this first question. Shout out to you, Focus Active. He said, what publishers do you see left standing and who get bought by the end of this generation? This is a free-for-all, Fame. So we just kind of jump in, kind of, tag in, tag out kind of thing. So anybody want to dive in on this one?
I mean, I see CD Projekt Red at some point getting bought. I was kind of thinking that would be one that Sony.
He's been Fame. He's been saying that for a minute. That's not a new idea around here. That's Buzz been on that train for about a year or two now. So
I'm still waiting for the whole Amazon by Sony deal to kind of fall through. That's still like a year or so away at least. Like I think if this generation keeps going the way it's going, I think that's the move that Amazon makes. But left standing. I don't know. Like I'm kind of surprised that Ubisoft is still around, independent at least at this point in time. I think if Avatar doesn't hit like they hope it does, then they're going to be in some serious trouble.
Okay.
I think
that's all.
I think because it's likely that GTA 5 will be on the next 6 console generations as well. That Take-Two will be the last big publisher remaining because there's no way they would sell, because if we look up and GTA 5 is constantly tracking as one of the top bought games, right? We obviously, as we can always see now, EA is next to go. Interesting move to see who gets them, because Microsoft said this and people said they were crazy when they were and don't quote me because I'm gonna get the quote, because I'm not gonna quote, but it was something along the lines of PlayStation not really being the competition. It was the Amazons, the Apples,
Disney.
One of them getting EA is going to be a problem, right? Regardless what you think about their games and studios they own, right? Therein lies what Microsoft Xbox was telling you when they went and scooped up Bethesda, when they went and scooped up Activision Blizzard, because they're not worried about Sony getting them. They're worried about Disney, Apple, and Amazon getting them because they have the money to somewhat compete with Microsoft in the buying space, right? I definitely see EA and Ubisoft being next. I think Take-Two at the end of the day, that will be the last big publisher standing.
Yeah, because GTA is an albatross. There, you can almost that's almost unsellable, right?
Yeah.
It's almost I don't know, Fame, if you would agree with that. It's damn near unsellable, right? You couldn't give me enough money to sell that.
You couldn't. I would feel like the future revenue from GTA 5 that's still selling, and imagine when 6 ever comes out, it's going to have the same longevity as 5, and then 5 will probably continue to sell after that. You couldn't. If I own GTA 5. I don't care who you are. There isn't a number that you can throw at me that I wouldn't think that I can make with this IP alone, not including the Red Dead and other games that I got under my belt, NBA 2K and all that stuff. Oh yeah, I'm not giving up.
No, I would agree. I think Take-Two is going to be tough to. It's funny because I don't know if you were on the same train, but we kind of thought that about Activision with Call of Duty, right? Like we thought, there's no way anybody would come in and be able to actually purchase Activision.
Well, they shot themselves in the foot.
That was self-inflicted wound. Let's be fair. That was a special circumstance in which they'd be able to get this. I don't think it would have happened any other way, right? It wouldn't have never happened. I don't think any other way had they not been in the predicament that they've been in with the financials and everything, going on with the HR situation and management. So I would agree. I don't know if you wanted to dive in on this too, Pong.
Yeah, no, I think I would not put Take-Two as untouchable. There was talk that they, that Microsoft had early talks with them, right? And I think that in this day and age, as much as we like to believe that certain publishers are just so powerful or so big that nobody could take them on. Look, these companies unfortunately are run by investors now. Take-Two is completely run by investors. Investors, just like at Activision Blizzard, they don't care if you burn out a franchise. They don't care if you burn out an IP. They want to see bigger numbers, being status quo. Even if the yearly profit is in the billions, that's not a good enough. You got to show increases every year, and that was Activision Blizzard's problem. Is they were getting to the point where they were burning out Call of Duty, and it wasn't sustainable anymore, right? That they had made too many mistakes. They couldn't even let Blizzard work on World of Warcraft 2. They had to have them keep pumping out these less than expansions that cost them a lot of reputation. And at the end of the day, cost them consumers as people bled out of World of Warcraft to go to Final Fantasy 14 finally after 20 years. So I don't think anybody's untouchable. I think Take-Two for the right price could be had. Now, there's not too many players, but if Apple decides to jump in and they come along and offer Take-Two an ungodly sum of money, it'll happen, right? And then there is the potential for an Apple. There's potential for Google to jump back in. As much as we like to think that they jumped out, they could regroup at any time and come back in. And, I think that these are all potential possibilities. And so Take-Two is definitely not out there. I think that they're big, and I think that they have a good chance as being one of the last ones standing. But definitely a possibility that they are still around by themselves. I think Embracer Group is another one that's insulating themselves. And I think that even though they're not worth a lot of money, even though obviously the right amount of money could probably buy them at this point in time too, they're insulating themselves and becoming the premier shop for subscription services if they don't open their own subscription service. The people like Sony and Xbox are going to be going to Embracer Group to make cut deals, because Embracer Group has so many IP now, so many games in development. Whenever you need a game or 3 or 5 to drop into a Game Pass or PlayStation Plus Premium, Embracer Group's going to be your one-stop shop, right? And I think that that's pretty impressive what they've done over there. The Eastern side, I think those will all stand. The Capcoms, the Bandai Namcos, you're probably going to see mergers over there more so than acquisitions, but they'll all still be standing tall at the end of the day, just because I think the East is a little bit more resistant to acquisitions. Not that it can't happen, but I just think they're more resistant. So I think they'd rather team up with each other than be acquired by somebody. So I think there's going to be some left standing when it's all said and done. And again, at the end of the day, it's not doom and gloom. No matter how many get gobbled up, there's always the next Take-Two, always the next Activision Blizzard just waiting to jump in and fill the hole. And it takes, it may take 15 different developers to fill a hole left by Activision Blizzard, but one of those could become the next one, the next big one. And I think that's the exciting point of all of this. As much as people don't like consolidation, I think it does protect IP. I think it does help the industry flourish by, removing some older publishers and opening up fertile ground for new ones to spring up. So just kind of like a forest fire opens up the opportunity for new forest, so does it here with consolidation. So I'm excited to see what happens, though.
Awesome. So great breakdown. Keep the questions coming. So I'm going to jump around the questions a little bit because I want to make sure I get to everyone and kind of bounce around a little bit. So I'm not skipping yours intentionally. I'm just jumping around a little bit. So I just want to let everybody know. So we're going to go ahead and actually, looks like Bacon Life had a great question. He said, last week my question was best soundtracks in games. This week I will ask panel to give top 3 to 5 favorite game stories. So he did this last week with his fame. And last week was I think top 3 or top 5 soundtracks, gaming soundtracks. So this week we'll probably do top 3 just to kind of keep the chat flowing here. So top 3 favorite game stories. We'll just start with you on this, Fame.
Man, I think number 1, because I just had a big conversation about this on the last Double XP, and I'm about to go to the story surrounding the original Gears trilogy.
Okay.
I guess spoiler for anyone who's been under a rock and not played that trilogy. I think the story behind the original Gears trilogy and what happens with Dom and things of that nature just really hits, like, no matter what. I was on TikTok and someone took that scene and put some music behind it, and I was like, I'm about to freaking cry.
Maria will never make me
goodness.
cry, man.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was that song, and they say that a hero can save us. The part where Dom sacrificed himself, and I shed a tear.
I don't even
Oh,
know that
man.
music, man.
Bro. That song, number one, that song is amazing, right? But you put it with that scene of Dom sacrificing himself. Holy crap! The original Gears trilogy story is so good. Final Fantasy IX. I know a lot of people harp on Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy IX. If that remake is real, that some better hit Xbox, or I'm going to freaking lose it, right? Because Final Fantasy IX to me is the best Final Fantasy game in my opinion. That's Square. Listen to me, Square. We're going to have an issue if you don't put Final Fantasy IX remake, if it's real, on Xbox. I don't really have a third one right now, but because those two are two of my favorite stories, like ever. The original Gears trilogy, and then Final Fantasy IX. That story with Zidane is absolutely underrated, and it's a better game than Final Fantasy VII.
Okay. I guess I'll go next. Probably the original Halo trilogy 1 through 3, CE through 3. Was probably that's probably top 3 in my opinion as well. I do like the Gear story. That'll like you said, that'll never not be emotional, right? Especially for the people that were there at the beginning, like the people that went and bought that game, and we stood in line and we saw the trailers and we got so hyped, and like, bro, that was one of the most. It's amazing. Like, once again, you go watch the cutscenes. You don't even got to play through the game. Just go watch the cutscenes on YouTube, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. So that was amazing. Man, there's so many good ass stories. I'm gonna have to think about this for a little bit. I thought I had some more, but I guess we'll throw this over to you. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I'll jump in. BioShock, number one.
Oh
Yeah, BioShock, the Mass Effect trilogy. Absolutely freaking still stands the test of time nonstop. I just love that. And then Red Dead 1. Red Dead 1 for me. I liked John Marston's story more so than number 2. I did. So John Marston will always be one of my favorite characters in Red Dead 1. Still to this day, I get chills remembering playing through that story. So
I got my other two. My other two. So Titanfall 2. That was amazing. Amazing campaign. I don't know if I'm sure everybody on this panel played the campaign. Amazing, phenomenal campaign. One of my most memorable campaigns I played. Probably a top 3 shooter campaign I've ever played. And that's any shooter. It's that good. And then this one may be a bit niche, and I'm sure everybody here, at least on the panel, and probably most people in chat are gonna get it. Spec Ops: The Line. I don't know if you guys remember.
Phenomenal.
Oh man, like Fame. Did you get a chance to play Spec Ops: The Line?
I actually bought the game, never played it,
bro.
You got to go play it. You got to go play Fame.
I'm trying to listen. I don't want to give it away, Pong, but the writing. Listen, 2 word white phosphorus.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh,
it's movie quality writing in that game. That game could have been turned into a movie easy. It's so incredible.
So incredible. So that go ahead for that. Those are my 3.
Ooh, this is going to be a tough one because most of the games I play aren't really story based. But I would say, as far as ones that are up there for me, Dying Light, the first one, I kind of like that story. It's not that it's mushy or anything like that, but I just like the kind of like the direction it went. Although the ending with the back wasn't the greatest, and the following part wasn't as, I guess, deliverable as the main storyline, but really was a fan of the original Dying Light. Let me see. I guess I want to say Division 1, but it's not that there was a story, but I like the whole premise behind.
I would say,
especially after going through the
pandemic.
Oh, there was a story there.
There was a story. Yeah, they're memorable characters.
I would say Division 1 more so than Division 2 story for me. Was one of my more memorable ones, and then, I'm not going to say Mad Max. No. Actually, you know what? Because of my love for the movie 300 and Gladiator, I'm going to say Rise.
Nice.
I was actually a big fan of how they they turned that story or told that story in that game. Being a fan of that time period and stuff like that, I that one was definitely up there. It was a lot more than what I was expecting out of that game, as far as story was concerned. So basically, Rise, Division 1, and oh man, I can't even remember what I said before. The original Dying Light, and those are my 3.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving on. We got a bunch of questions in chat. I appreciate you guys so much. Chat is always lit with the questions. You guys are throwing them in there hella fast today. I appreciate it. So I'm gonna be bouncing around trying to get to as many as possible. So shout out to you, Awful Grim Bones, has a question. He put, "Would y'all love to?" He said, "Would y'all love the Nemesis engine in more games? It's only in the Shadow of Mordor franchise and the upcoming Wonder Woman game." Now we talked about this, and I think it might have been you, Pong. It might have been you and Fuzz talked about that engine specifically right around when that WB rumor stuff started coming out, and we started talking about who could get WB. That was one of the things that we highlighted. That was like probably one of the 3 things out of that deal that would be like a big get, is that engine, because it is underutilized. It really, nobody else uses it. So, and the idea of that Nemesis engine is so versatile and so awesome. So I absolutely think it could be usable in a ton of games, tons of ways. So we'll start with you on this one, Fame. One, are you familiar with did you play Shadow of Mordor?
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely think that engine is something. I talk with Baron, who's communication director at level1gaming.com. He has been a big advocate of that system being everywhere. I am super excited to see how they implement it with Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
that's going to be super dope. Definitely would like to see it with more games. I don't want to oversaturate it in like every open world game. That's my biggest fear. Something that's really good gets overdone. You're like, that's not. But whoever, if these studios from WB get sold, right, whoever end up getting that Nemesis system is going to be in a fantastic position, right? Definitely a big fan of it. Definitely want to see it in other places. I personally wasn't a big fan of the Shadow of Mordor again. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan. That's why, right? So give me a break on that. But that system itself is incredible, and I would like to see it in more games. But being specific, like be particular on which game. I don't want to see it everywhere. But certain games, like that Wonder Woman game, a superhero game, can be that can be a very, very good implementation of that system.
Yeah, I agree as well. So it works perfectly in like a superhero type ish game, especially if they have a rogue gallery like Wonder Woman, like a Batman, those type of games. Perfect. So Pong, Fuzzy, we've talked about this kind of here and there as the WB stuff has come up. So just jump in whenever you're ready, guys.
Well, you kind of saw some of like a not really a copy of the Nemesis engine, but like something very similar in the Assassin's Creed games where they had the I forget what they would call them, the higher level people that would chase you down. Basically, they were almost like hunters to some extent. But yeah, I would definitely like to see that Nemesis engine in a few other games. As crazy as it's going to sound, I would like to see it in a racing game, but similar to kind of like what Grid and Grid Legends does as far as their rival system. You bump somebody, cause them to spin and wreck, maybe they remember the next race where they can try and wreck you as well. So something along those lines, not necessarily that they're, purposely trying to, end your life in the car type of deal, but, just something along those lines where, they have a memory, kind of like you see the NASCAR drivers where they are like, oh yeah, what comes around goes around type of thing. And then the next race, they put the person into the wall type of deal. So something along those lines in a racing game I think would work as well.
Oh yeah, it works perfect in a racing game too. That any kind of competitive like a racing game that would work beautifully. So Pong, I don't know if you wanted to jump in on this as well, brother.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Again, we have talked about it, and I think it would be fantastic. Like Fane said, you could oversaturate it, but I think that if more people got their hands on it, if it was to be acquired by, say, an Xbox, and more teams got their hands on it, they could probably add their own little twist to it to keep it fresh. Right, they could probably find some different ways to approach it, use it in the background, but then give some very creative type of ways in certain games to implement it. And I think that would be the really interesting part to come out of it. But yeah, no, I'm all about it being added to games. I think it's a phenomenal system, and it definitely has its place. And I wish more teams had access to it so we could see some different things, like give an Arcane that Nemesis system and see what kind of mechanics they come up with in the game to influence the Nemesis system and your rivals and all that kind of stuff. Man, that would be fantastic. That's what I want to see eventually.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go ahead and move on. We got a couple other questions. Once again, keep the questions coming, man. We got roughly about 30 minutes left in the show, so keep the questions coming. You know, we want to keep this thing active and busy, so we appreciate you guys all for hanging out and watching us live today. So I think I had skipped over a question. Oh, this is specifically for you, by the way, Pong. Zink had a question of why is Kojima making a Death Stranding 2? I don't know if you want to dive in on that.
Oh, sure. Why
specifically for you? Yeah,
why is he making a Death Stranding 2? Because it sold reasonably well. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination his biggest hit, but it's gathered a following across PC and PlayStation, and PlayStation doesn't want to lose Kojima. They want to keep him in the mix. They put up, remember that whole thing where their banner had included Death Stranding, and people were wondering if that meant that they were purchasing Kojima's whole studio and all that kind of stuff. He's still important to Sony, so Sony probably said go ahead and fund it. And like I said, I believe at this point in Kojima's career, it's no longer going to be one game at a time. I believe he's been building up his studio, and they're going to take on multiple projects, potentially 3 different projects at a time. Because again, time stands for no man, and Kojima understands his time is limited now. He's getting up there. And so I think that he wants to get out all of his ideas. So I think that's why Death Stranding 2 eventually happened, was because Sony finally just gave in and said, go ahead, make another one.
And on top of that, just before you dive in here, Fame, and on top of that, there may be some other ideas that Sony is not they're not suitable to execute those ideas.
Sure.
They're not in a position to execute those ideas. We've already heard about the cloud idea he had already pitched to Amazon. Ball was already rolling on that before Google backed out. Before Google,
for Stadia,
before Stadia pulled the plug. That was an idea he had on the table. So maybe he's going to do what he wants to do. I think that's the thing people need to understand. Kojima's going to do what Kojima wants to do, not what Sony wants to do. So I think people forget that because he's synonymous with Sony, but he's absolutely going to make the choices with his studio in mind first, regardless of who's handing him the check. You know, the games are going to get made, but I do still see their opportunity of a Kojima game being on Xbox or some other system, just because that's the system that liked the idea. And he said, okay, you guys can do it. Let's roll with it. You know, I don't think he's agnostic like that to platform.
Could you imagine the amount of tears that people would have if during this Xbox event, Kojima shows up and confirms that Xbox game? Oh, holy crap. Talk about getting the internet. The internet would set ablaze.
Other Zink would be crying and smashing his TV if that happened.
Oh, dude.
So it'd be a different type of crying, Fame.
I'm all about new games. If Kojima's making an exclusive Xbox game, that's going to be the headline through multiple publications. And it's the amount of tears that people are going to have to say Kojima's is making a game that's not on PlayStation. Bring him out. Even I don't care if it's for 15 seconds, just to wink at the camera and say it's coming or something.
That's all they need to do.
15 seconds would shake the rest of the year.
Bro, I said that, and see if you like this idea. I said that announce his game at the VGAs.
Oh yeah. Him on his best friend show on Keely's show, have him walk out and say, well, this is what I'm doing with Xbox. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, maybe him walk out with Phil. I don't know how that would work, but I love that idea as well. Twitter would be hilarious day.
God. And it's not even about being petty, but once again, he already went to someone else for a game. Right? That's factual. Mm-hmm. We know that he did that. We know that he took that idea to Google and they said, sure, we'll do it. And that was the thing until Google, dropped the ball with Stadia and said we're not doing anything over there anymore.
Kojima means so much. His name still has power. Again, I know others Inc. Again, he said he already made his big statement. He never wants to work for Xbox. I get it, others Inc. But again, the Kojima's name does drive that attention. Fame is exactly right. We've talked about it on this show. The reasons why Xbox would want to do a deal with Kojima, just from the name alone, the attention it would garner. And again, for me personally, it's what he can do with the cloud that would mean so much to Xbox. Xbox is going to be pushing the cloud more and more for development side of things. We've already heard Phil and Sarah talk about this repeatedly. They want to get all the tools. They want that accessibility in the cloud so that people all over the world can be working on these big, giant games in the cloud, no matter where they are in the world. And to have Kojima name attached to one of those first big titles that kind of pushes not just himself, not just Game Pass, not just Xbox, but pushes out the cloud advertisement. It's huge. You can't put a number on it, what that would mean at the end of the day. Whether the game turned out to be one of his greatest or whether it turned out to be closer to, Death Stranding that wasn't one of his greatest in terms of popularity, it does not matter. That name would mean a lot to Xbox and a lot of different
people. And once again, I subscribe to the idea, and we've heard from different people, Jeff Grubb, all types of people, that is a thing. But once again, that remains to be seen. We'll see if that ever pans out. Maybe it's vaporware. Maybe they're blowing smoke up our butts. Who knows?
See, was I wrong? Others Inc. said, yes, I would jump out the window crying all the way down to the ground. See?
Too much. See? OD, man. OD. But let's go ahead and get to more of these questions. Once again, chat, you guys are always doing a phenomenal job dropping questions in the chat. So keep them coming. Like I said, we got about half an hour left on the show. So we'll keep answering as many questions as we can get to. So I'll be bouncing around a little bit too, but keep them coming in chat. So shout out to Boba Fett Gaming watching live. Appreciate you watching as well. He said Final Fantasy 25th anniversary is coming up. Will Final Fantasy 7 finally drop on Xbox? I will start with you, Fame. You being the resident Final Fantasy guy. So do you think that's ever going to happen?
I feel burned because I don't feel like I'm keep plugging my website either, but I wrote an article on everyonegaming.com a year to date of that exclusivity deal that I thought was ending coming to Xbox, and it didn't show up, and it kind of upset me, which is why I was saying earlier, Final Fantasy 9 remake is real another hit Xbox. Me and Square are going to have an issue. But with all the things that we're hearing about Square Enix pretty much, being a pseudo PlayStation studio, and they're saying their mainline games are going to be on PlayStation. They're pretty much siding with PlayStation in this fight. I don't think it's coming. I would love for it to. Don't get me wrong. It's been, we're closing in on 2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years since they first. Yep.
That's a long time, and maybe it's a 2-year deal because we know Forspoken is a 2-year deal, right? So maybe that's the case, and maybe it'll get announced that it's dropping on Game Pass on the 12th. That'd be big, right? I just at this point I'm like 2 years in, it's hard for me to even want it to come at this point. At this point, we're gonna be playing so many games. Like, will it? It's gonna attract the people. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just like, am I going to play it? I've had this opportunity this whole time to play it on PlayStation. I didn't, because again, I'm not a really big Final Fantasy 7 fan. I'm more about Final Fantasy 9. So I don't see myself being excited for it. Otherwise, I think I would have played it 2 years ago on my PS4.
Okay. That's fair. Anybody else want to jump in on that at all?
Yeah, I think it's time to just kind of put that way in the back as the biggest hope, but don't even look at it. Don't even get yourself excited for it, because chances are Sony's locked that one up with Square. And even if they haven't, maybe Square's made a decision, just like they have with Final Fantasy 14, not to put it on Xbox. Like, the fact that Final Fantasy 14 is not on Xbox is absolutely a bigger travesty than even Final Fantasy 7 is at this point, because they are making and printing money at Square Enix, which is one of their biggest problems. Final Fantasy 14 is carrying basically that entire company at this point right now on its back. And for them to not even take the time to talk to Xbox and make that happen when Xbox could offer them Azure servers to help out with their server capacity issue is ridiculous to me. So again, I'm just happy that we're getting Diofield out of Square Enix for Xbox. I'm happy that we're actually getting a turn-based strategy game in the mold of Final Fantasy Tactics. That's huge for me. But Final Fantasy VII, I'm sorry, for every big fan out there, I would just consider getting a PlayStation 4 right now and playing it on there, because I don't think it's happening. I really don't think they're going to put time and money into to bring it here, and I don't think Phil is going to overpay Square Enix. Square Enix is
As
probably
he should.
holding them, as he should
not. Yeah.
in a lot of ways. There's a lot of different things that I do think that they should go overspend for, but Final Fantasy VII Remake is not one of those, even though it is a big fan draw for a lot of people. At this point, it's not worth it. Maybe once after 10 years when the entire Final Fantasy VII Remake is complete, maybe then go overpay for it and bring it all in one shot, right? But right now, I wouldn't do it.
And then I agree with
Pong,
Fame. Oh, go ahead.
No, say, hey Pong, you talked about Final Fantasy 14, being on PlayStation. You know the greatest counter Microsoft can do with that is when they complete the Activision Blizzard deal, bring WoW to Xbox.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
At that point,
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Automatic win.
And you know what, Fame? You know what you instantly do when that deal is done? You know what you do? You not only announce that WoW is coming to console, but WoW 2 is in the works, and it's going to be built from the ground up for both PC and console. Man, you will melt down the internet. You will absolutely melt down the internet. All those players that hopped for Final Fantasy 14, again, will start coming back just under the excitement that WoW 2 is coming out. I guarantee it. Yep.
And there's been a lot of good energy behind WoW as well. We've seen Mikey Barra constantly tweeting about the energy and everything going on over there at Blizzard and everything they're doing. He's always saying, look, we're working. We got a roadmap. We got things. We finally got some goddamn clarity.
Just wait until StarCraft is re-announced as coming back. Oh man.
Yeah. So no, and once again, this is the beautiful thing about the position, and this goes back to everything we've been talking about here on the podcast today. Just about every topic, the fact that Xbox has enough meat on the bone to be able to have the versatility. Right. This is what we're talking about. Having all these IPs, all these studios, they insulate themselves for having to worry about shit like that. They don't need to care about. They don't even really need to care about Square games coming to Xbox.
Nope. That is the word. That's the word I've been saying from the get-go was insulate, right? Yeah, Xbox is going to be completely insulated, no matter even if no other third-party publisher ever wants to do a deal with Xbox again, they will have so many teams, so many IP underneath their umbrella after this Activision Blizzard deal, they don't have to worry about it anymore. They will be self-sufficient for the first time. This is something that we've never really seen in this industry outside of Nintendo because Nintendo's their own little pond and they're happy over there. That's great. But Xbox will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest of all time in that mode where they can just produce whatever they need. They can do it in-house. So it's fantastic.
I agree. And that's the thing. A lot of times people look over that, Pong. That's part of the reason why they're doing this. But we got a few other questions here in the chat as well. I believe Fifth Horseman. No, that wasn't a question. Let me go down here. I know there was a couple more. Here we go. Bacon Life. Shout out to you, Bacon, as well. Appreciate you, man. Fan of the show, always here every week, man. Thank you so much. He said, do you think Phil Spencer will wise up and start doing third-party exclusive deals like Sony? Xbox has all these studios, but it feels like Sony has more because they do these deals. We literally just talked about that, about them being insulated, and they don't necessarily – that's not a primary concern for Xbox anymore. That is off the table. With Game Pass, with now 30-plus first-party studios, that's not a concern. That's like on the laundry list, that's towards the bottom of the laundry list now. That used to be a priority back in 2013. Those years that was a priority. That's why we've seen so many. That's why they relied on those for the first 4 or 5 years of the last generation. They no longer need to take that route. It's less of an issue than it used to be. So I wouldn't say it's like, they don't have to worry at all, because I still think there's some third-party stuff. You need that for Game Pass. It helps drive Game Pass, but it's less of a concern than it has ever been.
Yeah, the deals going forward are about Game Pass. They're not about exclusivity. At this point, Xbox doesn't care if they secure for the new battleground is going to be subscription service wars, right? That once Sony gets up and running, that's where you'll see the battles take place, because once you get that game for your subscription service, like a Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, that game is automatically identified with your ecosystem, even if it's multi-plat. So that exclusivity stuff really does not matter to Xbox. They'd rather spend the money on Game Pass stuff.
Yep.
As they should. Give me day and date on Game Pass over we worried about whether somebody else is playing it.
Easy. You said it right off the rip, Fame. That was the first thing you said on the show today. So, no, 100% agree. So, shout out to everybody dropping in questions, man. Chat is always lit. You guys, I love the fact that we switched to this format, man. It it gives us a lot of energy here on the show. So let's go ahead and
shout out to you, PTK, because I tell you one thing, man, you've built an amazing community over here. I love you and the panel. But I'm looking at the chat, man, and seeing how much love that they're showing you guys. Man, you guys have built an amazing community, and I really can't wait to see what's next for you guys, man.
Thank you.
Kudos to you, man, for being an amazing host and doing what you do, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure my counterparts here appreciate that. They make me look good every week. So give them proper credit as well. I do thank them.
We just got to work on his polls. That's all.
Yeah, the polls. I got to clean the polls up. I'm getting killed over here. He's been trying to commit a coup every other week. He's trying to Gaddafi me over here, man. Trying to get me out of here. Trying to get me out of here every week, man. Whether it be through a guest or some kind of other, third party means. Pong is trying to get me.
We've been on a pretty good streak. It's been hit. We had a streak of like 6 in a row where
it was brutal. It was brutal. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be a guest during that time, Fame. It was bad. No, but we got some more great questions here. Shout out to you again, Awful Grim Bones. He said, "Do you guys think Ed Boon will show what he's working on at Xbox Showcase? Should him and Phil tease about a new KI game? Boon said he'll stop working on MK2." So wait. Before we get into this question, I every time this comes up, I get so excited about this because I have like Killer Instinct. We've heard Ed Boon talk about it, and we know Xbox is shopping around. There's rumors about the studio actually working on KI. We've seen that. I believe that was Jez and/or Rand said something about KI being made already. There's a dev already doing it. So, Fame, I kind of want you to. Where you at on the whole Ed Boon and Xbox and KI and Mortal Kombat, and then we get this new news about WB, maybe still those studios still being up for sale potentially. Where does this all land at, bro?
Buy NetherRealm now. This to me, that's the bigger out of all the things WB can sell. Forget. I get understand Batman is big, but you're buying a license, right? You're not actually buying the Batman IP. But NetherRealm, you're going to own Mortal Kombat. You're going to have the studio that makes the top tier fighting game every single year, and you can get them to do Killer Instinct, bring back one of the greatest fighting games of all time. You go to whoever's holding shit up at the FTC, sorry for my words, and say, look. I know y'all looking into this, but I'm about to go buy NetherRealm, damn it. And y'all better not have no issues behind it. Go get NetherRealm and make it happen now.
You pulling up. You Phil pulling up like, look, man, I ain't look. We got to get these games.
We got stuff to do, baby.
Exactly. Y'all holding things up, man. Who care about that paperwork? We got cash. We got straight cash. What are you talking about?
Because a lot of people don't then I don't know if they noticed this, but when they put in the bid for Activision Blizzard, that $70 billion was all cash.
Yeah.
Cash. And with the way inflation is going, if people think Microsoft is trying to make a monopoly now, imagine that deal not going through, and Microsoft now has, because they have a $3 billion failure clause, right? Imagine that money not going through. Microsoft is buying everybody and their mother, and it's going to be hell to pay. But yeah, man, FTC get out of the way so Microsoft get back to person, because NetherRealm is a perfect studio. Because when you look at fits and filling portfolios, that fills a massive void on Xbox, right? Not having that fighting in-house fighting game, right? You fill that void, and you got Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct, and the crossover between those two, you're gonna make some noise.
Oh yeah, that's a dream scenario. Pong, we've gone over this multiple times, Pong, right? Like we've done this.
Yeah. You look, Fame. I'll see your NetherRealms, and I'll go ahead and up it to all of WB and take it to court, baby. Hey, that's where I'm at. Okay, I've been saying this from the get-go. Screw the FTC, screw the EU, fight it in court. You got all the laws are on your side. Nothing would be a monopoly. I don't care. Go get all of WB. Just like Activision Blizzard was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, WB is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you get into the entertainment business as a whole, because that's where this is all going now. The entertainment industry is going to be consolidating these IP that can be made into movies, TVs, games, comic books, regular books. That is where the value is at. So you go grab the whole kit and caboodle and call it a day and say, come on, FTC, come fight us, because we're going to take it all the way to court and you get everything. That's what I'm all about. So yeah, no, I agree.
Buzz, go. You want to dive in on this, Buzz?
I hate to be the doom and gloom guy on this, but I thought Ed Boon had made mention that project that he was working on, because I was excited for it being possibly like what I call Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat crossover type of deal. I thought he was the one that was working on this multiverse deal. I could be wrong, but I think that's the secret project that he was hinting to, unfortunately.
Killer Combat. I like that name. That's fire, bro.
Yeah, I've been trying to, like, at Sarabon and at Phil and at Ed Boon. It's like, yeah, just do the crossover. Killer Combat. And that, I think, would be an ultimate, fighting title that deserves to be on Xbox. But I think Ed Boon's most recent project has been that multiverse deal where that's like Smash Brothers, on steroids basically right now. Yeah. But I would still love for him to do the crossover between Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct. But for right now, I think he lend his services or his golden touch for a fighting game to the multiverse thing. But that's in like alpha or beta right now, so it could be a while before we see the final release for that game. But yeah, I think that's what the project he was working on, if I'm not mistaken.
And NetherRealm was easily the crown jewel of the hall. Out of those developers, easily, not even close. So they're all great developers, but NetherRealm absolutely. So just to piggyback off of that, Fame, are we? That the idea that there's already a developer working on KI? Are you there already? Are you sure? You certain there's already somebody?
Yeah, Killer Instinct is one of the games when we do, I guess, spoiler alert, when we do our predictions. So I got a big show lined up for that. Killer Instinct being shown on the 12th is one of my games, because I think it's a game that isn't being talked about, and it was one of the better games from Xbox last generation. A lot of people who legitimately play fighters love that game, and wanted to see it continue to get supported. I definitely think that game is being worked on, and what better way than to bring back an iconic title for this generation of gaming. So I definitely think it's in the works right now. Who, I'm not sure. But definitely it's in the works, and definitely can't wait to see it. And I suck at fighters, don't get me wrong, but Killer Instinct is one of those games where I play it anyway, no matter how much I suck, because it's one of the few fighters I've been playing religiously since I was a kid. It's one of the few fighters I can actually play. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see, number one, who's developing it, and if we're lucky, hey, tell us that it's going to release this year. That'd be dope.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. I know there was a rumor that it was possibly like Bandai or somebody.
Yeah, that was Jez had said that he had heard the faintest of whispers, but then this last Xbox 2, shout out to Jez and Randall Thor on Xbox 2, he said that he's backing away from that. He personally does not think Killer Instinct is in the works anymore. He does not think that's happening.
Got it. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, we'll see.
Well, just shatter our dreams then. Damn it, not playing.
and Ed Boon's last tweet about this kind of thing was May 17th, where he said, because somebody had brought up that Injustice, the Injustice sequel was being made and being worked on by Boon. And he came out and said, we really appreciate that 2 of our games have anticipation for future installments, and we wish we could be everything everywhere all at once, but someone would have to give us the keys to the multiverse first. And then he said underneath that, he posted again and said, yeah, that was kind of unintentionally cryptic, and with a laughing emoji. And he said, I was basically saying that at the moment, we can't work on every game we'd like to make all at the same time.
Yeah, so, they're invested in that multiverse game, whatever the case may be. So that's understandable, but we'll see going forward how that all shapes out. But I think we got room for maybe a couple more questions here before we go ahead and wrap the show up. So, fellas, if anybody got any questions, or chat, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them below. I think we can get to maybe 2, maybe 3 if we have the time. Is there anything that we missed? Anything in the DMs that we missed, Pong, Fuzz? No, let's
Oh,
see. Anything that I might have missed. Let's see what we got. I know you sent something about. Was that you that sent the Time Splitters thing?
yeah, Time Splitters 4. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, again, Embracer Group racing to the top of my favorite publishers of all time simply because of that game. How many people? Fame, do you remember Time Splitters?
I do remember it. Don't have a lot of actual play
See,
time with
that's
it.
what I'm saying. Like, look, we've talked about this before. Like, Time Splitters to me, it actually, if you go back, they actually introduced Battle Royale back in the day.
Yep,
If you go back
and
to
a
the
map
game.
editor. I think they were the
And a
first
map editor,
shooter with a
yes.
map editor.
Consoles, yes, for consoles. So Time Splitters to me has a special place in my heart. I played a lot. Me and my buddies played 4-player split screen on a 25-inch screen. How we ever did that back in the day, I have no idea, but we did, right? And Time Splitters was just simply amazing. Some of the weirdest, wackiest characters, places to fight in, all sorts of different stuff. And Embracer Group, we knew that they had purchased the IP. They had come out and said, we are going to make new Time Splitters. They actually brought back some of the original Time Splitters team to start working on it. But then somebody released a picture. Jordy from Xbox Era, shout out to Jordy. He actually got a hold out of, I think it was Reset Era. Somebody had posted a picture from inside the studio on their wall, and they had pictures of the actual characters from Time Splitters 4 already done up artwork style on the wall. So that to me means it's all go. We are going to hear about Time Splitters 4. I cannot wait. Anybody else excited for Time Splitters 4?
Well, I am, because once again, it's been forever since I played it. I do remember Time Splitters quite a bit, but once again, I just want to see it, the new iteration, see what they do with it. Like you said, it was not a lot of people played it.
No,
but it was extremely innovative if you did. Like, you had a ton of fun. Like you said, the co-op was awesome. Zany character. The characters are probably the most standout part of the game.
Well, that was the cool part, right? PTK, because they had the single player too. You had the co-op experience, but you'd be traveling through different places and times, and they had like almost these cartoonish type characters that you would meet and interact with. One minute you'd be playing with 6 shooters from the old West. The next minute you would have a ray gun in your hand, right? It was crazy like that. Crazy. That was unique.
Yeah, and then like you said, the map editor was awesome. It was way ahead of its time, way ahead of its time, especially on console at that point. There was no other game giving us map editors on console, so that was really cool. I just want to see it in this new updated version. I think it's a cool idea. Once again, shout out to Embracer Group doing God's work. We appreciate you guys reaching down in that war chest you guys have and pulling out some of those old ass IPs that's just been sitting there begging to be remade. So thank you guys for dusting them things off and take a look at it. So anything else? Chat, throw us anything. Let's see. Chat got anything that I missed? Did I miss any topics? Not topics, but questions. Let me go back.
Assassin's Creed show on Netflix.
Yeah, that was in the works for a while. I think did that get killed? Or did they go back to the drawing? I can't remember. That was old.
Sure.
I that wasn't back to the drawing board, and it's kind of the same thing with the Division movie, and just everything Ubisoft and TV or movie related. It's kind of been pushed back.
They put out the one. They put out the one back in 2016 on Netflix, but then nothing since then. And I don't. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything coming up.
Okay, so I do. There's something that we did miss that was really, really big this week.
Which one?
Xbox outsold PlayStation.
Oh God!
Sign of the apocalypse,
right? I looked outside. I thought I saw 3 pigs just cruising. I'm like, what
8 years
over the house? 8
years,
years, right? So all right. So I mean, this is once again, right? Like, we'll have this discussion. We'll talk about this. I think it's a great thing, right? It still it shows that they're making some type of headway. Hell, that Series S is outsold, I think, the last 2 generations combined. Yeah, probably in Japan. That's a lot. That's a big deal. It's not a lot of consoles. That is a big deal. It's getting more popular. They're doing the right thing. They're chipping away. Some people say it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But shit, give it. I say don't abandon the whole country. And why not? keep at it. You never know what happens. You fuck
even
around
without great Japanese support, it's selling well. So imagine, when a lot of these Japanese games begin to drop on Xbox. I know the tide has been turning. Got the Yakuza series, so on and so forth, right?
Where you at, Atlas? Where you at, Atlas?
Drop Persona 5, on Game Pass on the 12th, and you're going to see that Series S. The sales going to go up more. So somebody has said, I can't remember who it was, called it the Trojan horse of this generation, and it's great to see Microsoft making headway in Japan, because I know it's easy to look at American sales and the UK sales, but I want this thing to sell great everywhere. Because the more it sells, that means the more software is being sold, which means the more games we get. And I'm selfish. I want all the games.
I feel you, Fuzz. Where you at on this? It's so I know some people.
Yeah,
we've obviously got to bring this up because I've seen it all over. Some people are like, just immediately went to, well, it's chip shortages. I get it, right? I get it. Like, I understand, right? Like, I'm sure Sony would have sold more. They do about 20K a week over in Japan. Sony has actually been on the downtrend in Japan for a while now. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they
Nintendo is king over there.
Yeah, Nintendo not even close. But once again, that Series S has outsold both. I think the Xbox One already.
Yeah,
I think it's already outsold.
The Xbox One, I think, did 150,000 units for the entire.
You mean 150?
Yeah,
and they're already at 200,000 for the series consoles in the first 2 years. So they definitely are outpacing the Xbox One by a good bit. Chip shortage definitely contributed to it, but let's put it this way: the fact that it's outdoing the previous generation of Xbox is good enough. I think. The more that it sells there, the more support. Hopefully, the devs over there in Japan will start to recognize, hey, there is a customer base within our backyard here for this box. Why don't we go ahead and put a few copies of our games on there? I mean, when it comes to a digital version instead of doing like the physical versions, I think there's enough demand there for us to see a lot more of the devs like Atlas finally get off their butt and put some of their titles on.
They're just gonna have to buy Sega because Atlas ain't gonna budge. I see they're just gonna have to buy Sega.
Well,
and say, look, Atlas, they
put that survey out, so it's a bit more promising, because the last time they did the survey was broken. Like, you would submit stuff and then it would hang, or it wouldn't submit, or it was just a mess. But this last survey, be it a bit long, but it definitely looks like they're trying to garner or at least measure some of the interest in like Persona and a few of their other titles on Xbox as far as a platform. So I could see something happening here soon. But yeah, it's great to see that they're doing well. I mean, they outsold for a week, and we'll see how it goes next week. But I think it highlights the bigger problem where, how does Sony, like, I get it. They wanted to focus more on the US and the UK as far as their supply, as far as their outreach, as far as the customer base and things. Not that they've completely abandoned Japan, but they've closed some studios. They changed the X and O, which is like a life thing there. It's like, it's always been the opposite of what we look like. O is okay for like select, and X is like bad. So now, with most games having it where X has always been select, they now are forced to go with that same setup. But it's like, what Sony is definitely, I guess, sleeping on their home turf, it seems, to some extent. And the fact that you can't get enough consoles in your own backyard, what are you doing? I don't know. That's the highlight for Sony, is they need to wake up, just in overall or in general. But it's great to see that the Xbox is selling well. Hopefully it continues to sell as well, if not better. And if there's some spicy announcements between now and the VGAs, Kojima's like their prodigal son. So when his game possibly appears on Xbox, I could see even further sales, and the fact that xCloud is a draw as well. Yeah, it's a good trend, and hopefully it continues, increasing as the generation goes on.
I agree. I agree.
It's something to be proud of that Xbox is making inroads.
Definitely.
Again, let's not overblow this, at all, but it does show that Xbox has a semblance of life over there at this point, that the Series S was incredibly smart on multiple levels, one of them being that region over there as well. I'm sure PlayStation themselves would admit they would love to have a smaller form factor PlayStation 5, less power right now at this moment in time that they could produce in higher quantities like the S. So I think that does say that some of the work that's being done over there is having an effect, that the Series S is going to be that Trojan horse, that there is life, that it's not dead. All the goodwill they had from the 360, they sold what, 2 million 360, something like that.
Yeah.
They blew it out again. They blew it out of the water everywhere, but again, especially over there. I mean, the Xbox One was non-existent, but Phil and Sarah and all the work that they've done over there recently, over the past few years, is really making a difference. They've got a big indie showcase, Japanese indie showcase coming up, I think next weekend, if I'm not wrong, or during this next week. Xbox is going to have a huge presence there. Xbox has been working with, I think Sarah said, over 1,000 indie developers over there, to get them interested in Xbox, to help them get their games onto Xbox. All of that is going to have an impact at the end of the day. Make no mistake, it's still Nintendo land and then Sony as B. But if Xbox can get anything going over there close to the Xbox 360, that's got to be considered a win. And I think now that they've even specifically hired, they've got a whole branch of Xbox over there where they're hiring, and they even got, it came out that they've got specific projects in the works over there for the Eastern fans, right? So all of that lends itself to the fact that I think that they are going to have a much bigger presence than they've had in a long time over in Japan, and maybe the start of something bigger with xCloud, with Game Pass, with the mobile market that they're going to get into worldwide here to get those 2 billion, 3 billion people. Japan's going to be a big part of that. So I think this is good news. Is it something to say, oh, the tides have turned? No, it's definitely not the tides have turned by any stretch of the imagination. But they are making inroads. They have cracked open the door an inch or 2 inches and are showing some signs of life, which is great. So.
And that's all we want. That's all I want to see. That's progress is what we want to see, and that's, I think, and that's all that matters to me at the end of the day regarding that. But once again, that was a great topic, and that's gonna wrap things up here at the Shop Podcast, man. Once again, it was a phenomenal show. The chat showed out every single week. You guys have obviously coming out here, giving us lots of life, giving us lots of energy, asking great questions every week. Once again, before you guys start filing out of here, subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed the content. We do this every week, so you will get this quality type show every single week here. Promise you, free of charge, don't cost anything. So if you're into gaming, you want to get your weekend gaming fix, stop by here at the Shop Podcast. Hang out with us, have fun, be a part of the family. But before we dive on up out of here, we definitely got to say our outros here, and we'll start with our guest of the hour here, Mr. Fame ENT. I just want to say thank you, brother. Shout out to you. Much love to everybody over there at Level 1 Gaming, Baron, Floor Hugger, everybody that's part of the staff over there doing big things, man. I expect huge things out of you guys, and, we sending all the positivity your way, man. Hopefully we see you guys at every show and all these publications and websites, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you just personally, D. I'm proud of you, brother. So I'm super, super proud of the progress you've made, the perseverance, because I know what you've gone through behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So shout out to you and the family as well, man. So I just want to say that from me to you, man, you're doing big things, and I want to keep seeing you doing, brother.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate you, Fuzz, Pong, man. You guys for having me out. And just showing love. Again, you guys have a fantastic and thriving community here. Definitely can't wait to see what you guys do next and have you guys growing. Again, shout out to everybody who came out today. If you, again, like PTK was saying, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. If you guys are I can see it. I know for a fact there's a lot of Xbox fans. So we have a pretty big post Xbox game show showcase coming up on that Wednesday after. We got some really, really big names you guys want to come out and listen to. Some very prominent names in the Xbox community that you guys gonna definitely want to hear their thoughts on how the show went. Again, if you guys bookmark lv1gaming.com, I'd appreciate it. Give us a follow on Twitter. Everything. If you see that bird or a bird that's a little thicker than that, you see lv1gaming.com. Because coincidentally, I found someone who actually made a name that's similar to ours. So you got to be the LV1, and it has to be the Phoenix. That's us. Give us a follow, man. Check us out. If you're in the Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Nintendo, all of that good stuff, man, definitely come check us out. We got something for you.
Appreciate it. All of that's down in the description below once again. So do yourself a favor, go do that. You know how we do here on the Shop Podcast. We support every guest that comes through and spends time with us because we appreciate that. And we humble and we want to show love. So you guys do me a favor. If you're a fan of the Shop Podcast, jump on over there. All the socials are down below. Very simple. Just one click away. Go show some love to Level 1 Gaming. And once again, shout out to you, Fame. Appreciate you, man. Love seeing the growth and everything you're doing. Like I said, I've been seeing you grinding for a long time, and I know you've been through some shit. You've been through some shit. So once again, I love to see you come out on top at the end of things, brother. So keep doing what you're doing. You always got the support of the Shop Podcast over here, brother.
I appreciate
Not a problem at all. So my two compatriots here, the two guys that make me look good every week. We'll start with you, Pong Harvey. Once again, another amazing show, brother.
Oh, man, it was awesome to be here. Obviously, PTK and Fuzzy, you know what it is, brothers. All love and respect to you guys. Absolutely love finishing my Saturday nights here with you all, especially after a hard week, man. It's just great to kick back with brothers and talk. And an extra special thanks to Fame for coming back again on here. Indeed. Absolutely love your thoughts and perspective on things, man. Again, it lends itself to why Level 1 Gaming is blowing up the way it is. So keep doing what you're doing. I don't need to tell you that, but man, I love to see that stuff happening within this community. So man, shout out to you and everybody over at Level 1 Gaming. Love you all over there. So thank you for being here. Chat, you guys were absolutely incredible as always, each and every Saturday night coming out, supporting the Shop Podcast. And for those of you in the future listening, we appreciate you just the same. Thank you for what you do, because again, without you all, we're just a bunch of talking heads talking to ourselves, right? So that ain't cool. We'd rather be here doing it with people. So thank you all. Love and respect to each and every single one of you. Look, Pong Soul, Xbox, Pong Soul, Twitter, you know the drill there. Tuesdays, when I'm available. That's up in the air right now because real life is what it is and work is back to normal. But Xbox Factor Podcast, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, one of the best in the business. You know the drill over there. Tuesdays is all good things green in the afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Mav when he's available. You got Boxing Burger when he's available. VJ's there. N64 Josh. Look, just jump on in there. Boom's the man. Check it out. And then Thursday nights, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM over on Fun Speculations channel, building something big over there Thursday nights. Him and I, and every once in a while we get some guests like Steel Rain, like Randall Thor, right? So jump in there, see what we got to say. It's a two-man show normally. We're going to deep dive some topics every Thursday night for you. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, Fun Speculations channel, PM in the PM. Be there. And then right back on Fun Speculations channel, Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate. I missed this week. It was a sad time for me. I don't like missing that show, but jump in Xbox Ultimate. Everything goes crazy over there. Craig is now making, yes, Craig from Halo Infinite is now making regular appearances, it seems, on Xbox Ultimate, which came out of the blue 2 weeks ago, and it was hilarious. We were dying, crying, laughing. It was crazy. But Xbox Ultimate is always a fun time on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Be there. Saturday mornings, living split screen. My brother from another, Steel Rain, and I. You know the drill by now, 3+ hours. We are actually now just averaging 4 hours at this point. Me and him, the chat is involved. Every Saturday morning, we start your Saturday right with that live, raw, and uncut, as Steele says, type of information and good talk about the community, about the industry as a whole. You're going to get it all there. Living split screen, all one word, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. BST time, UK time, whatever you want to call it. Be there for Living Split Screen every Saturday. Again, I'll be back here next week for the Shop Podcast because, again, no better place for me on a Saturday night. So anyways, it's the golden age of gaming, people. You all know that by now. Get out there, enjoy it, have fun, get that excitement, get that hype. Keep those energy demons away. Mute, block, whatever you got to do. Play what you love what you play, and I'll talk to you all real soon.
Appreciate you, man. Once again, follow Pong on Twitter. That's going to be the easiest way to figure out what's going on with him. Keep up with, all his weekly things. Follow him on Twitter. We always appreciate Pong, the battery of the Shop podcast, man. Shout out to you, Pong, every single week, man. Appreciate you bringing that energy. And last but not least, the smooth voice, the smooth operator here, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. Go ahead and wrap this thing up for us, brother.
Well, just want to thank Fame for coming out tonight, and man, it was awesome having you on here again.
Thank you,
Always
brother.
love having your thoughts and feedback on things, and it's great watching your channel grow. And for all those that are subbed here, definitely go check out Level 1. Definitely give them a sub or a follow. Awesome content, Xbox centric. Hey, you gotta go.
Yes,
check
indeed.
it out.
I told Baron we're an Xbox show. He don't believe me. He say Fame turned into an Xbox show. I sure did. I sure did.
Yeah, but man, for a Saturday night, this was awesome. My basically my second family. Always love being on here with PTK and Pong. It's a good way to, I guess you could say start the weekend more so than end the weekend. But man, for any of those that want to hear my thoughts on anything gaming related, especially racing, just follow me on Twitter at @fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on FSP on Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern time with Mav, Fun Speculation on Fun Speculation's channel, 3-Bit, Lore Master Jasper, and Psychonauts. And then you can also find me on Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mr. Boomstick, John Wolf, Web Dave, Big Cloud Gaming, and usually Dreadpool, and on occasion Crispy Bomb makes an appearance if he's available. And then on that later that Friday night, find me on Xbox Ultimate with Pong, Mav, basically the whole Fun Speculation family between Mav and Caitlin and all of us at Fun Speculations channel. That's usually at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then right back here next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find me here with PTK and Pong. Look forward to next week.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And last but not least, your boy PTK Blam, the host with the most here at the Shop Podcast. Hit me up with PTK Blam everywhere, Xbox Live. Follow me on Twitter if you want to know what's going on with the show. If you want to know who's going to be the guest next week, if you want to contribute, and my DMs are always open, so I'm always taking suggestions on who to be, who to have on the show next. So appreciate you guys, man. We'll do this same time, same place next week. I do want to make sure I make you guys aware. I will be streaming the Xbox Showcase as well here. It's going to be a special show the day before, but I will make sure I'm streaming Sunday on the 12th. So just putting it out there early. I'm going to make an official post here probably within a week, get something together. But I want to let everybody know early if you want to come hang out with whoever's going to be here, then that's what we're going to be doing. But shout out to everybody who came out and watched live, man. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Appreciate you guys. See you next week. Peace out, everybody.
Later.